Welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. Let's see. Well, we already know what the big news of today is, or late last night, or going into today, was the trade of Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cleveland Browns. Shocked by the OBJ trade. Not here at ETFB 62. Not even. I told y'all this way back in October that this was going to happen. Of course, I didn't know which team, but I knew they was going to trade him. Let's do that. I said, let's check this out real quick and put this in perspective of what's been going on. And this is what a lot of people, because everybody's saying Twitter is blowing up and all the different athletes are in awe. They're going crazy, and OBJ, and he's going to Cleveland. I can't believe New York did this and New York did that, and what New York's going to do, and all of this type of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I don't buy into all that. And that's part of that's part of the reason why I do these particular shows, to throw my perspective on it, because I don't think a lot of people look at those particular perspectives, that you just look at everything from a person being a star and everything like that. But a lot of times in this line of work, in that line of business, there is just that business, and you got to crunch the numbers. And it's one thing I do like to say, numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. So let's do this. After starting the first 3 years of his career off in a possible 48 games played, Odell Beckham Jr. played 42 games, which is really good, right? Which is really good. But in the last 2 years, Odell Beckham has started in only 14 games out of 32, which means he's missed 18 games, which means he's missed 16 games plus 2 games. That means it's a season and 2 games for the next season. Just put that in perspective, okay? And that's something that you have to look at, right? That's something that everybody seems like, because one of the things that's known in sports, and especially when it comes to football, one of the things that's definitely known is that you cannot make plays in the whirlpool. You cannot make plays on the bench, okay? You can't do that. And you definitely can't make plays if you're sitting up in the whirlpool and you're missing games. So part of a person's legacy is based upon the games that they play and the different things that they do in those games, which makes them very good to great to legendary. Since OBJ has been with the Giants, and I pointed this back in October, right? And even going back to a piece that I did about liking him to John Jefferson of San Diego Chargers. They are 31-49 since Odell Beckham Jr. has became a Giant in 2014. Is that OBJ's fault? Of course not. But nonetheless, he's on those teams. 31-49. One winning season, which was in 2000, and I want to say that was 16. One double-digit season, one trip to the playoffs, and one playoff loss. That was to the Packers. Targeted 11 times, 4 catches for like 25 or 30 some odd yards or whatever like that, and had the case of some of the alligator arms and whatnot. And of course, that infamous trip after the Redskins victory over there in Florida, hanging out with rappers or whomever he was hanging out with. Okay, now he just got the contract that he got, which was a I think it was a 5-year, $95 million contract, $65 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money for a person's production since after 2016 has gone down due to injuries, not because it's play. Great player, not taking anything away from him. My point is you got to still produce on that field. And like I said, 18 games missed in the last 2 years. Is OBJ one of the best wide receivers in the league? Of course he is. That goes without saying. It goes without saying. But let's put this in perspective. In the last 2 years, the 17 and 18 season that Odell Beckham Jr. has played, right? Odell Beckham has 1,354 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's 14 games. That's basically 14 games played. Okay, in the last 2 years. Now, I'm going to just randomly, I'll give you out this particular receiver's name here, receiver's stats here. This receiver in the last 2 years was 2,649 yards, 13 touchdowns in 32 games, and their team was actually last year on that of the got to the NFC Championship game. That's Adam Thielen for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, of course, is Adam Thielen better than OBJ? Of course not. But guess what? He's on the field. He's been on the field for the last 2 years, 32 games. And he has been productive in the last 2 years. Odell Beckham basically got a contract based upon what he did in 14, 15, and 16. Odell Beckham has not lived up to that type of hype in the last 2 years. Even though he got his contract, I think here in August or whatever time of 2018 or whenever he got it in 2018. And all the things that go along with what he's been dealing with, from the Instagram girl and eating pizza and coke, looked like it was coke around there, him smoking weed, to look like it was allegedly smoking weed. Probably don't know what it was, can't say for sure. But ever since that infamous trip in that playoff game in 2017, right? The Giants has not been the same. They've been losing. Because they had went 11-5 in that 2016 season, and they have been losing. They lost the playoff games, and everything has been downhill for that franchise since then. So what did you expect the Giants to do? And I told you guys, one of the things I told you guys, I said about Odell Beckham, I said it was with the thing with Saquon Barkley and what he was doing when they started off 1-5. And that season was basically over. That's going to be Saquon Barkley's team. They're going to start building everything around him. I expect them to get a quarterback. They're holding on to Eli Manning just because Eli Manning gave them 2 championships and he's a Manning. And so they're not going to, let's say, they're going to let him try to finish up. They're going to end up drafting a quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be Haskins. Have no idea if it's going to be Haskins or kid from out of Missouri. Can't think of his name off the top of my head, but him or either the guy Greer from out of West Virginia, which that's my wild card. But we'll see if it's Dwayne Haskins and whatnot. But that's going to be something to see, because Eli Manning, this is probably going to be his last year. And this past season, this season 2019 should be his last season as a New York Giant. Even though I'm not going to put out that this might be it for him. 2018 might have been his last season, but they're done. They're getting ready to rebuild that particular franchise right now. And they didn't have any Super Bowl contending stuff going on anyway. So what was the point? Between the money and the hijinks on the field and off the field, and the last 2 years of dip in production, what's the point? Send him on his way, because what he's given them the last 2 years, you got that from somebody like Adam Thielen. That's math. You know what I'm saying? That's just math. And maybe the new start may do something for him when he goes to Cleveland, but I don't see why anybody's surprised by this one bit. I called this out, like I said, back in October. Of course, I didn't know which team, but I knew they was going in a different direction. It was going to be based upon what Saquon Barkley was going to do. And Saquon Barkley is going to be the new face of that franchise. And whatever quarterback that they end up trying to get in the draft, but they're going to have to draft a quarterback. I can't believe they act like they're not going to draft a quarterback, but or like that's something taboo for them to do. But your quarterback is basically, he's done. Eli just turned 38 years old, and time is up. With Eli, it's time to move on. Like I said, possibly Dwayne Haskins, as they're possibly talking about, maybe him. And we'll see what happens, though. I'm just Drew Lock. That's the guy's name, from Missouri. Had a hell of a career. Played in the SEC, toughest conference in the college football, and had a stellar career and whatnot. Haskins basically started 1 year and balled out. So it's going to be a toss-up, I feel as though, between the two. But we're going to see what ends up happening with that situation. But a quarterback is definitely going to be drafted in the time. So they're rebuilding. So even with OBJ would have been there, it wouldn't have mattered much. But they don't need that headache because it's obviously he's not trying to really be that guy or be that particular veteran leadership. He's not trying to give that. You follow what I'm saying? So why not blow the team up and start something fresh new face, positive with Saquon Barkley and some leaders, with him and with some other pieces and whatnot. And the Giants probably come along next couple of years or so. But no surprise over here at ETFB. Not at all. You follow? I may come back and do another one. I may or may not. We'll see what happens there. But like I say all the time, there is no GOAT, no greatest of all time, as long as time is still going on. And also, like I just said, people lie and get emotional. Numbers don't. All right? Talk to you guys later.